So without further ado, as I've teased for the first 30 minutes of this Monday show, I'm going to tell you how to win your fantasy football league this season. Here's the answer. Draft as much Jeremiah Love as possible. I think it might be as easy as that. So Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, you heard the clips there, ran at Indy this weekend at the scouting combine a 4.36 second 40-yard dash. 4.36 from Jeremiah Love. And when asked about it after his run, he wasn't happy. He said he thought he was going to run in the 4.2s. That is, for people that aren't aware, that is preposterous, silly speed from a running back of this caliber. So you know, if you've watched Notre Dame, and college football is a massive sport and we love covering it on the show, Jeremiah Love's a beast. Not only does he have breakaway speed, not only can he catch the football with serious aplomb, but he has the strength to run between the tackles at the NFL level. And he's going top 10 in the draft. I don't think there's any question about it. Now, we can have a debate. Should a running back go top 10? I'm less interested in that for the moment. He's going to go in the top 10 of the draft. And now that the combine is in the rearview mirror, we have a bunch of mock drafts coming out, right? Which makes sense. Like combine done. I click on all that stuff. I love that stuff. Like post-combine mock draft. If you love this stuff, like how are you not consuming that content? I am. I want to give a tip of the cap to Nate Tice, our friend from Yahoo Sports, who joined us Radio Row Super Bowl week in San Francisco. Nate will join us coming up in the next couple weeks on the show. So Nate just released a mock draft for Yahoo, where he works, post-combine edition. And he has Jeremiah Love going 9th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Now, even if Love doesn't go to the Chiefs, like as long as he doesn't end up in a situation like Ashton, and I think Love is way better than Jeanty, and I like Jeanty as a prospect. Ashton Jeanty had no chance last year in Vegas behind that offensive line. Jeremiah Love would have no chance. Barry Sanders would have no chance. Jim Brown would have no chance behind that Raiders offensive line. As long as the situation isn't that, and the Raiders are drafting Fernando Mendoza first overall, so it ain't going to be the Raiders. Jeremiah Love is going to be a fantasy football league winner this year. I feel confident saying that in early March. And, if you're a newer listener and viewer to the show, thank you very much. You may hear me say that and think, well, like that's a hot take from March from someone who doesn't know fantasy football. I'll tell you this. I may not know many things in life. And that's actually true. I don't know many things. But fantasy football is one of them. Longtime listeners and viewers of the show know that to be true. Give me, you know what this is going to be? The summer of love. Fantasy football draft season. I should trademark that. Like Wagertainment. I can't wait for it this summer with Jeremiah Love. Also named to remember, running back as we approach draft season here for fantasy is Arkansas's Mike Washington, who set the combine ablaze and I think will be the second running back off the board. Mike Washington from Arkansas. Couple other combine-related notes here before we break, and John Martin will join us next segment, You Better You Bet, Monday morning. Westwood One Sports, Nick Kostos here with you, presented by BetMGM. And this segment sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save on commercial auto insurance from Progressive. Get a fast quote at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. Couple quick notes from this weekend that you need to be aware of. 2 Ohio State defensive players, I think, solidified their status as top 5 picks this weekend. And the fascinating thing about both of them is that they are kind of tweenerish in the sense that they're both stud off-ball linebackers that can also both rush the passer if need be. And that has been something in the NFL that has been frowned upon a little bit. Not that you don't want a skill set like that, but who's really able to do that as well as, you would want a player that you take in the top 5 being able to do it. Sonny Styles, Ohio State's linebacker, and Arvell Reese, their hybrid off-ball linebacker / edge rusher, both blowing up the combine to the degree I think both are going to go in the top 5. And in this new era of defense in the NFL, I don't want to say totally ushered in by the Seattle Seahawks. I think that you will see players like this, Reese and Sonny Styles. They're going to go high, and I don't think there's going to be a ton of question marks around either. And, the Arizona Cardinals pick third, and if they take one of them, I'm sure there will be an Isaiah Simmons comp. Simmons was kind of thought to be in that mold and didn't make it to that degree. Has stuck around in the NFL for a while, but hasn't been a superstar. I think Reese and Styles both have superstar written all over them. One other note for now, and then I'll have a quarterback nugget from the combine for later in the show. Oregon tight ends Kenyon Sadiq ran a 4.39 40-yard dash this weekend. That is the fastest time ever for a tight end at the combine. Sadiq is going to go in the top half of the first round. And after what the Rams did this season with multiple tight end sets, as a way to combat the way teams like the Seahawks are playing defense, I think you're going to see tight ends go earlier in the draft than we have seen as a general rule for maybe in the history of the league. And Sadiq will be the first one off the board coming up in April.